this book of yours. I have autism and I like to play good, striped, bad tennis. Please tell us about this.
This comes from this whole notion that most of the parents have. You have to be good at what you do. Good tennis was just one area which I kept emphasizing. Everything that Noel, my son, was being told to be good at, he felt that what is the purpose? So his pushback to me was, I like to play bad tennis. Why do I have to be good at everything? Why do I have to defeat other people? This was his line of thinking. This became our way of thinking thereafter. It had a transformative effect. And again, important thing to note is it doesn't mean that I don't want to learn tennis, but that pressure.
Correct. Why do you think children and adults, moderate to profound, are being left out, even in the special education ecosystem?
There has been a rise in autism spectrum disorder.
Definitely.
Now let's compare to the services. How much of service we have increased? There isn't much where special education services are offered. There has been a drop down in young graduates coming to special education.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
With the non-speaking children on autism spectrum notion that educators have. The highlight is always on the more capable, more verbal. So those are showcaseable.
So, welcome both of you to the Dolly Show today. I am truly so happy that we are going to discuss a very different topic today. So, to introduce my guests, we have Dr. Imam here with us, who is a principal of a college, which is a special education college. So, I'm really excited to have an upfront conversation with you. And we have with us Debashish Pauls, who is a parent, author, and a consultant. So, a beautiful combination that we have today and amazing conversations that we're going to have. So, let's start.
Great.
First and foremost, I would love to pop in a question to you, ma'am. I would love to know your journey. You started as a therapist, then you went through training children, and then now you're training the trainers. So I would love to know your journey, ma'am.
First of all, I'm grateful to Autism Connect who invited me on this important subject. And my journey started long ago. For more than 2 decades have passed. And I started as a special educator after my B.Ed. I worked at National Association for the Blind as an itinerant teacher, so traveling teacher. And I had about 15 schools all over Mumbai, where I was including children with visual impairment. And I came across many children who had other needs as well. But at that time, I was not working with them. And I completed my higher education. I did my master's, and then I got into higher education. That's where my higher education career started. I did work a lot with other disabilities also, because the B.Ed I was trained in was multi-category. Unlike now, which is, specialization specific. We have specialization in visual impairment or hearing impairment or autism spectrum disorder. So that's how my career started. And I was very much passionate about touching human lives. Therefore, I chose this career. And now I have completed my doctorate, and I am immensely involved in research, and I am on board with various committees like Board of Studies, University of Mumbai, and Syllabus Review Committee. And I'm closely working with the organizations that require our services. Yeah, and now we are into teacher training, hardcore teacher training for B.Ed autism spectrum disorder.
So to sum up, you are our epicenter. All our children who are being trained. So all the trainers are coming from here. I have so many questions to ask you, ma'am. So yes, we'll definitely get back to you. So yes, over to you, sir. So we have another big person with us today, who is Debashish Paul, sir. And let's go on with your journey, which fascinates me a lot. So I want to hear it from you.
Thank you for your words.
And I'm really proud to be at the Dolly Show. Thank you. Yeah, my journey has been that of autism father. The usual challenges, the usual joys, all of that, and many, many more that happened along the journey. I have been a serious researcher, though my profession is management consulting, marketing, advertising in the corporate world. But I forced myself to find time to do the research on the subject. And then I wrote a book, which you have featured in Autism Connect. Thank you for that. And I have been an autism advocate. You would say today, after my book, I have been coaching parents. I've been going to corporates, talking about employment and neurodivergence in the workplace. Yeah, so that's my current involvement and my mission.
Which you have taken up extremely well. Let me tell you that.
Thank you so much, Dolly.
And the way you're spreading awareness is what the need of the hour is. So, yes, we will definitely talk more about that. So, let's get over back to you, ma'am. So, you being the principal of Sopan College, I would really love to know what exactly is special education training and how do you go about it? I mean, I'm curious.
Yeah. So Sopan started in 2002 as a registered body and trust by a group of parents. Sopan stands for Society of Parents for Children with Autistic Needs. And this was way back, I'm talking about, 2002, like I said, it was formalized. And Sopan had various services. It is a basically hardcore grassroots level working organization working with children having autism spectrum disorder. At that time, the services were far and few. So in order to look at special educators, the organization or our institute looked at various different specializations. So like I said, later on in 2015, it became specialization specific. Until then, we had intellectual disability or a multi-category or some other, and diploma programs were there. So ID being very close to, though it's not really the same at all, being close to autism or some information and knowledge is there in that curriculum. Mostly the institute hired people who had that qualification. Now that is very different from autism spectrum disorder. So then when we started our college, when the services went on, we had service for early intervention, we had Samarpan special school, we had other services of ICT, computer technology, and we also had our Saksham, which has recently really evolved, that is connected to the industrial skills that is imparted to persons with autism, and they then kind of earn a little livelihood through it. Now what has happened is over the years there was a need felt to employ teachers who had qualification in autism spectrum disorder. That's where this whole process started. And our parent body is not only a group of parents, but let me tell you, there are professionals. Okay, they are qualified professionals who were working in the field of special education, and they are a part of the parent organization. So they are absolutely people who understand what disability rehabilitation is. They have been right from the inception of Rehabilitation Council of India, which is the statutory or the apex body that regulates all the programs. So now in Maharashtra, what happens? CET, you're coming to your question, CET combined entrance test is conducted, and through that, teachers are, coming to the teachers who are interested, who are opting for like B.Ed or any other, law college or whatever they want they come into that.
Mm.
So they have to write a test, and that's when they are selected to be in B.Ed special education or B.Ed general education. Later on, then they opt for which specialization they want, which college they choose, and that's how they come into our college. And we follow the Rehabilitation Council of India syllabus as prescribed by that, and pass through University of Mumbai Board of Studies. So we have that syllabus. It's a 2-year program. In the first year, we develop knowledge along with certain skills, and next year it's hardcore autism. We make a beginning theoretical, so we want knowledge. We want that attitude. Over a period of time, we develop that, we work on it, and then finally we also look at skills which are most important to deliver what a child or a person with autism will require.
Wow, a lot of things that have cleared for me with this answer of yours, ma'am. Thank you so much for that. I will I have a lot of other questions as well, which I will come back to you. So, what do you mean by think differently as a parent versus as a professional? And where do you think do these paths meet?
So when we say think differently, we have to keep first and foremost the child at the center. Everything that you will think is about benefiting the child in the right direction. In a sense, the parent and the educator, they sort of converge. You know, the parent also becomes an educator, and the educator also becomes a parent, isn't it? So this distinction is somewhat artificial. So both have to bring similar traits of different thinking to the table. However, we can't say the educator will take the responsibility of the child entirely. That's not possible. The parent ultimately has the responsibility, and it is not limited to that period of engagement with the educator. It is a lifetime responsibility of the parent, which she or he or both exclusively have. But when they are in the act of helping the child figure the world, learn new things, the nature of the thinking is the same. You know, keeping the child right at the center. The concerns, the imagination in finding new solutions, thinking out of the box, going beyond the conventional classroom or a table, across the table teaching situation, all of that. So the paths really converge very early, So that's what my interpretation is.
That's very important.
I was
and
going to come to you.
That's very important. Parent and a teacher has to work in unison. If that work is not there, it does not really meet the needs of the child. You have to work around it. And for as a teacher, as a special educator, and as a person in higher education, I feel the strong need of special educators humbling down with their qualification and knowledge and understanding the parental perspective. When we have young graduates, coming into college and they are doing their B.Ed, and at the end of it, I have a degree, and parent does not know. Parent is the source of learning. For me, I have learned a lot from parents of children with autism. Specifically, I've learned from them, but I have learned a lot from parents. When they would say that this will work for my child or this won't, yes, you're going to take it because they are 24/7. Yes.
So true. Because that's what we say. Your therapy, your training is for an hour or 2 or 3, but that parent is with the child throughout. That parent knows the child any day much better. And obviously, there has to be a sync between the therapist, the parent, and of course, the child in the center. So beautifully put in well together. So, yes, this is an extremely valid point that we have discussed. Next, overlapping the same thing in connection, we do know about the theoretical knowledge that, we put into the curriculum. What about the soft skills? So, what are the kind of soft skills that are taught to these professionals, special educators?
Yeah, so we have through the year, we have several workshops, we have several parent talk to give that perspective to understand, and we do have various sessions with the special educators, budding special educators, I should say, and we do counsel them. We do have a lot of traumatic experiences. We do expose them and sensitize them. I remember my days when I was in B.Ed and I was taken to a disabled remand home. I had a breakdown and my teachers counseled me. I mean, so there's a lot of things that happen. You are young at that time, you're not even probably married. So in most cases, and you are not in for a profession which has so much of trauma, and it's just teaching, and teaching is fun. And so when you see all of this, it's somewhere, so we have to conduct a lot of workshops. And like I'm saying, first year of the 2 years, we build that attitude, we build that resilience, that patience. Just observe. So we have many observation sessions. Just stand there, be partner to a teacher, be a partner, just be there, listen to parents, listen, be a good listener. You don't teach the parent, listen. Okay, no ma'am, but that's wrong, that's correct, that's wrong. Parent, we have a qualification, you said this, and this is what it is. No, don't get into that at all. Listen, see what you can do to problem solve and build. The child is at the center. Look at the needs, work together. So these are some of the things, the soft skills. How should you communicate? What details you should take down? Even if there are conversations from the parental end, sometimes which are heated or which are frustrating, take it in, absorb it. You don't have to react to everything. So these skills are built through and through. And they themselves are going through some kind of an examination or a presentation, and they are building their skills, and they're learning that success is not only being successful and having an A grade. If my peer or my teammate also succeeds, that's a success. So we give them that understanding through various kind of work that we hand over to our students.
So I would love to know your take on this as well. So how do you think is important, soft skills needed in a special educator?
So, soft skills covers many things.
Yes.
Number one, as all of us would agree, is empathy.
Yes.
There is no teaching and there is no reception in the special autistic mind when the person is not empathetic. And they are gifted with the ability of intuitively making out whether they are accepted, whether the other person is empathetic towards him or her, intuitively. That is mind-boggling. I don't think the neurotypical people like us, we have that power of intuition. You must approach a child on the spectrum with the full knowledge that he or she, regardless at what age or functioning level, these are the terms we use, right, has the power of intuition. When you are approaching, you first understand that from the moment the child looks up at you, perceives you, he can sense where you stand on acceptance. Only then can you build what comes next.
Or within it. So they decide.
Therefore, soft
And the
skills, even if you have this one skill of recognizing their power of intuition and therefore being empathetic, intuitively empathetic, it's a huge plus. Some of this, what you're saying, is very important to train. So that's why I always feel what is the most, special educator, leaders like her should think about how do we teach empathy.
How
You
do
know,
we do that? Yeah.
So the challenge of soft skills is some of it we take for granted, or that person has to have this personality trait. Then if you have the personality trait, you're in. If you don't have that personality trait up to the desired level, you're out. So not everybody will meet the requirement in a natural way. So you have to have a training module to make the person empathetic, to make the person recognize the power of intuition of the child that I'm going to deal with and not see the child through labels. That's what I would say.
Yeah, so through in the training, it is intertwined. So when I'm saying, you observe. So what are you observing? Are you observing a behavior? Are you observing the teaching method? Are you observing? So what are you observing? Are you seeing that the child is liking you, is wanting more of you, or are you comfortable in that scenario? So our observations are meant to finally, take it in the class, have a discussion, find out what was the, what your skill sets that you were able to build on. So somewhere these points, like sir said, it's very important to have that intuitiveness, that acceptance. So when you are going to the learner in the classroom, is the child coming close to you? For example, there is something out there. Is the child approaching you? Not by saying good morning, hello, maybe you may not find that, but the child may just kind of grab this. So that's how you move closer. So one step the child takes, you move forward, you build that rapport with the learner, and it's not going to happen, suddenly, or it's not one night job. And then comes your own intrinsic qualities. Like sir said, not everyone will be able to yet come to that. So we are all different human beings.
Yeah.
Some will have a very high, comfort with children of special needs. Some may not have. So those are, budding teachers who then take another route, which is fair enough if they are not having empathy and compassion and passion to bring about a change. If they don't feel that, and their commitment, which is very, very important. These are all non-negotiable things that should be there. Compassion, empathy, understanding. If they don't have that, then might as well go to general education or go anywhere. Actually, not in education at all, but but so they choose their other options or career options. But therefore, having said that, we have a huge dearth of teachers in special education. We have a huge dearth. There's a big gap with the services that's required and the teachers. Though we have an institute that is working towards empowerment and human resource development, but yet we have dirt for our own schools. We are all the time on the lookout of teachers, because either they move out, or like I said, unmarried young girls, they move out or they go abroad. And look for other opportunities. If the attitude is not there, then well, might as well. But on the other side, we also have had professionals in the past who have gone to the corporate world, who have made a lot of money, and whatever, they've enjoyed whatever they wanted in their life, and they felt that their working was very monotonous. And so far in their life, they have not achieved anything that's value. So adding human value, and they come back and do. I said, why are you coming back to do B.Ed? You're not going to be paid so much. You were earning. So I said, doesn't matter. I have done all that. Now I want to have come back and I want this. So there are people like that also.
Wow.
Yes,
definitely.
From real life.
Definitely.
To illustrate this point about soft skills.
Yes.
So I had this special educator for my son. And she comes in, I introduce her to my son. She doesn't bother about eye contact, which we know. She never asks him his name, which are the usual ones to break the ice. She says, listen, I can do cartwheels. Here we go. Doing cartwheels. And the child, all the barriers were suddenly evaporated. He was meeting the stranger and he was all in giggles.
Wow.
So like this, you have to think out of the box. So anyway, so that was the example I want to give.
So sensing, gauging, and then acting as per the child's requirements is what.
And you have to be a bit goofy,
Yes.
Yes.
You cannot see this whole thing of profile of a teacher.
Mm.
You have to shed.
Hmm.
It's very different when you come into, interacting with the ASD.
Hmm.
Yeah, with children, youngsters, adults.
Adults.
Also, why are we limiting it to children?
Hmm.
If you want to impart something new to this child or young person, you have to be a bit goofy.
Hmm.
That
Do it in a
appeals
new
to
way.
them. That appeals to them, and that it collapses the distance.
Yes.
There is a power distancing. So that collapses, and that's what they want. They become receptive to new information, new skills.
Instantly.
Yeah.
Wow, this is something new to me.
There is, in the autism world of parenting, there is no time to waste. I'm obsessed with this idea. Negativity, anxiety, misplaced anxiety, worrying all the time, self-pity, I am helpless. I actually went through that phase. That's why I'm talking about this. It's such a waste of time. And if you're a parent of a child or an adult on the autism spectrum, you have no time to waste. You have to utilize whatever time you have, whatever resources you have, to the best, only for the betterment, a better dignified life for your child or adult. ये मेरा बहुत strong belief है. And the thing is, you'll say, no, so what? How can we, give up our anxieties and all? It's always there in our. You can give up, and that's the beauty of the human design. You can change yourself. You can transform yourself. I'm telling you, you can cut out all negativity. It takes time, and there's no, I'm not advocating a certain practice or anything. You will find the answer yourself as soon as you look inwardly. You have to get out of it, because time is valuable. For every day that we are worried and, we are just losing valuable time, which can be utilized for the betterment of the child.
So, in continuation to what you spoke about, sir, right now, I would love to get this question on board. So much noise online, so much content that we have online. How does a parent, or for that matter, an individual, understand what to consume and what not to? So I want both of your views. You being a professor and a college head, and you being a parent and a consultant. Yes.
Right.
Anybody of you who wants to start?
So the answer is a simple no. You cannot differentiate.
Oops.
You cannot differentiate. Where? Such big things are happening around the world, and there is so much of fakery, so much of bullshit, so much of lying that happens. How will you know which one is the one to go for? And that is obviously there even in the whole business of teaching autistic children, behavior management, so many things, right? And you see Instagram reels on a daily basis, so many new ones coming from all parts of the world.
Mm.
How do you know? Everybody's, advocating a therapy. How do you know what is right, what is... However, there is again the gift of intuition that we have for our own self-preservation. We can understand with exposure and research and understanding that, okay, this one sounds right. Let me try it. Because again, in ASD, we all know that not every therapy or not every approach will work.
True.
So you have to keep trying and then see what works. So I cannot rule everything out, which is online. No. But what I'm saying is, you have done enough research and educating yourself first. And then you will have your own assessment. You don't have to rely on other people to say, ye sahi bol raha hai ya nahi bol raha hai. And then you follow that. Again, try it. Don't assume that this is going to solve all problems. No, it won't. But try it. If it works, again, you might have to modify it for your child. It might work. But to be blind about the fact that what is being put out online is the right way, or is true, or is something we have to do, and this fear of missing out is happening, and therefore that part you'll have to restrain yourself. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Fabulous. Over to you, ma'am.
Yes, so I would look at evidence-based practices, research-based. There are so many theories, there are so many practices that works and that has a well-rooted research in it. So I would suggest those should be followed. You have very very many things. You may want to try, but don't lose out a lot of time. So when children or parents come to us after a long visit to certain therapists and certain which has not worked, it's not working, then you have lost those important learning years. So one has to be very cautious and very particular about what you're choosing for your child. And I would suggest evidence-based practice. Look at evidence, look at your research, look at bank on that. So this one is saying or this one is available, that one, don't get into that trap at all. And therapies, there are many behavior. I'm not against behavior therapies, but behavior kya hai? It is in a situation, in a normal surrounding. And it can be transferred only there. I cannot sit down across a table and chair and teach behavior to a child. It has to be intertwined in the day-to-day work. And when the behavior will come down, when you provide those positive supports, behavior supports, right from the beginning. So that is very important. So behavior therapist के पास लेकर के जा रहे हैं, वहाँ जा रहे हैं, घर आ रहे हैं, again the behavior is same. So it will not go away because there the restrictions are there, and maybe for that 1 hour the child knows, I am here and I am tied up and I have to do this, and then I get. So the faster I get out, the better it is. I will do whatever is required. But again, it does not, you don't get out of that behavior trap. So I feel that it has to be intertwined. So in your teaching situation, in special education, that's what we say when you're seeing a behavior. To our budding special educators, why is the behavior occurring? Was the child engaged? Was the teacher able to reach out to the learner? So there are certain questionnaires that you have to look at. So why is the child hungry? Just before lunch break you found the child crying? Yes, so maybe he's hungry a little earlier. That's okay. Just offer him whatever he needs, or his lunch box or whatever. Does the behavior reduce by doing it? Yes. So that, which means 12:15 is not the lunch hour for that child. 12 o'clock. Yeah. So that's how you are going to approach it. Look at evidence-based practices. There are many research-based things. And go by what parents have also done, and they have seen success, found a success in those therapies. Yes, you can follow that. But do your own research. There are many shops at every nook and corner, and you have to be very careful about it.
Wow, this is an amazing answer. Very clear. So, yes, again, another question linked to the same. We get a lot of parents who come to us. How do we find a right or a good therapist? So, what would you say? What are the qualities that a special educator or a therapist should have?
Okay, so now a therapist and a special educator, they have different roles. Okay, we talk about special educator.
Yes.
So special educator should be one who is creative and who thinks out of the box. Like, not the same, oh, hello, good morning, and what's your name? No, that's not going to work at all. And one who's able to build that communication link and who's willing to work with parents in tandem. One step you put, one step I put. It cannot be your job and my job. So that trustworthiness is the first step between the parent of a child with autism and the teacher. That's the first step. And definitely you require empathy, compassion, you require patience. Patience to hear the parent, patience to deal with what the child is doing and not doing. And patiently you will see, things moving ahead. So you've got to give it a lot of time. And at the end, self-reflect. I, as a teacher, was able to do what was right, what was wrong. Teachers who are not willing to do that are not, it's not going to work. You have to self-reflect. You have got to be open to suggestions from parents.
Correct.
You have got to look at what is right and what is wrong and what is best for the child. You have to be able to be meeting the needs holistically. So there are certain receptive perseverance. Don't give up. It's not happening. Let's try. So there have been many children when I was a special educator and I was actually teaching at the grassroots level, which I sometimes do even now. But so many parents will, yes, inclusive school mein adjust kar payega kya? I said, what do you want for your child? Yes, you want it. Let's give it a try. These are the things, these are your tasks. This is my task. Let's work on it. Let's see. And let's not waste a lot of time. I'm not professing inclusive education because there are many children who may not fit into it. Fair enough. And parental needs also, along with what the child requires. So we're going to look into all those factors before taking a decision. And it has worked because you're patiently looking at it. It has worked. There are so many children who have been there in the system. But yes, like I'm saying, inclusive and special schools are a big debatable issue. So that's another
a whole episode.
That's a whole episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So, why do you think children and adults, moderate to profound, are being left out, even in the special education ecosystem?
I think you meant left behind.
Yes.
Because of various reasons. One, let's look at the situation with the non-speaking children on autism spectrum. The main thing is that they are not exhibitable of success. This is the common notion that educators have. So the highlight is always on the more capable, more verbal, misplaced importance of speech abilities. So those are showcaseable. Of their own success, of a school's success. And then we are all impacted by this rush for validation, approval, ratings, marks, percentage,
Likes,
awards, likes, all of that, right? Now that does something to these people and you cannot get away from that. But the point is, how do I carry them? How do I showcase them? How do I, first and foremost, understand the issues better? So the focus should be there and not be driven by what is showcaseable. And the other thing is, I think, strangely enough, and I had said this at that university where I was speaking to the students, I'm saying this because it is all pervasive, but nobody talks about it. That even our parents and educators want to showcase success in the public domain, celebrate big successes where there are tangible successes, awards won, what a great singer my son is. They get obsessed with this notion. You see, now what happens is, and there is no, it's all well-intentioned. But the downside of doing that for the community has to be understood. Not every child is going to be a hero. Not every child is going to be this prodigy. Not every child will be a musical genius. Or any of this, you will see, or a sports person. This is something we have to counter. Nahi to, those young children are going to get left behind. We have to get out of this for the benefit of the community as a whole.
Over to you, ma'am. Also, these children are moreover seen that even during admissions in school, they are denied. So, yeah, your take on this.
Yeah, so first and the foremost thing is that we have to accept that one thing is there, that there has been a rise in autism spectrum disorder.
Definitely.
Now let's compare to the services. How much of service we have increased? There isn't much where special educators or special education services are offered, and especially autism. Like sir said, they have to shift. Parents have to look at shifting to another town when it comes to seeking admission or services. So we have not really been able to reach out and looking at India, rural India, urban India. I'm talking about the entire stretch. Now, for us, for Sopan, we felt the need that there was a need in Raigad district. There is nothing there, no services. Of course, there is a National Institute of Intellectual Disability, but for autism, so we had to have a place where, which is Shanai Autism Center, which also offers a respite care, a 10-day break if a parent wants. They can keep their child there. But these services are how many? And these services come for a cost. So the problem is that there is less of services, there is less of, there is a big, huge gap between the special educator. There has been a drop down in young graduates coming to special education.
Oh, is it?
Yes, education in general now. Who becomes a teacher? Success. Sir was talking about success and ratings and awards, and so that was depicting non-verbal. But as a person choosing a career, if I am doing my 12th science, I want to go into engineering or medical. Ho gaya. Graduate, IAS, whatever other fields, ICT now, computer. After that, graduate students, this is the last option. When I interview, when I ask, what is your, have you come here by chance or have you come here by choice? Because that's very important for me. If you have come by chance, then I'm sorry, you won't be able to make it through. But yes, if it's your choice and you have a passion. So we have a dearth. There has been a decline in teacher community, and we can see that across the globe. You look at UK, US, there has been a decline, and there is a lot of movement, therefore, of teachers from here to there. UAE, there has been a lot of movement. So now we don't have teachers, good teachers, quality teachers. I mean, I'm not saying not at all, but I'm saying there has been a decrease. Now, when you look at the required services and that amount number, there's a huge industry and the services. There's a huge gap. So therefore, where do we keep, when this thing about inclusive education came up, that, inclusive, special educator community was really scared. We are going to lose job now. Everybody is going to go there. But there's always going to be a need of a moderate and profound, learners in special school. So, and we need to build those services. We need to build this.
I have to just sort of flag one important thing, the NEP 2020, the education policy, I think is a very important changes have come there. And at least on policy, we have it, in terms of inclusivity in schools, training for special educators and all of that. But my concern is only that how does it translate into reality across India, big cities, not only big cities, across all the small towns and, all kinds of schools, government-owned school, government-run schools, as well as private schools. How do you do that? But to begin with, we have a very strong policy, which we have to recognize that positive step. It's a big positive step.
Yes.
And in Maharashtra, we have Disability Welfare Department in January 2023.
Yes.
So these are very important steps towards including. But yeah, with alignment NEP policy, the other worry is also about integrated B.Ed. 4 years. Now, 2 years where people do not come. 4 years, and then it looks at various sections. If you've seen foundational years, then preparatory, and it caters to different grade levels of children.
Yes.
Now, when a special educator passes out, and she enters a school where she has done foundational level, let's say, and she's able to cater to up to only 2 years. She enters a school, special school, that has students who are in grade fifth. So, or going through that kind of curriculum, that level, is she going to say, no, I'm trained only in this and I cannot take up these children? So this is also the confusion that, aligning our curricula to NEP 2020 has done. So, in Maharashtra yet we are to see how it's going to be implemented. And our Rehabilitation Council of India has proposed ECTEP, Integrated Special Education Program. So that is what talks about, 4 different compartments and merging it, because it's a dual degree, BA, B.Ed. So you will get at the end of 4 years 2 degrees, but will the learner or the student sustain that? In third year, if I feel that, no, I want to go for arts, commerce, this is not happening. So all the 3 years as a teacher educator, I have wasted. I've been trying to train teachers. I'm trying to have, them into this. But finally, if the student does not want, then you don't you opt out of it. So these are the, practical difficulties, challenges for us to, and we have to sit across and think about it, how it is going to be really work. Though NEP 2020 talks about a lot of inclusivity and I'm with it, and policies are great. We have always had great policies in education, right from Kothari Commission to NEP 2020. It's all inclusive if you study it in the right spirit. But implementation has been, we have huge numbers in our classrooms. And the other challenges, of course, socioeconomic and infrastructure and looking at money and funding and fiscal and all that. So if a teacher studies for 4 years, is the salary going to be any better? You're devoting 4 years of time. So what is the, at the outcome on the other side?
This is something that needs to be given a thought about. Definitely. An eye-opener. So yes, over to you, sir. And a very important discussion I would love to have about this book of yours, which is, I have autism and I like to play good, striped, bad tennis. Now, please tell us about this. So there is this book. Guys, it's available on Amazon. Check it out. But before that, we'll hear it out from sir. Yes, sir. About your book.
Well, my book's name is I Have Autism and I like to play not good, but bad tennis. Okay, this comes from this whole notion that most of the parents have, and even I had. You have to be good at what you do. So good tennis was just one area which I kept emphasizing, that you have to be good, you have to defeat others, you have to play competition. That's where we have to reach. Now, with everything that Noel, my son, was being told to be good at, he felt that, what's the purpose? So his pushback to me was, I like to play bad tennis. And you know what? It baffled me.
Me too.
Because why do I have to be good at everything? Why do you have to defeat other people and win accolades? So this was his line of thinking. And he was then 17 and he's been playing tennis for a good 6 years by that time. So he changed this thing and he reflected on this matter. So he says, he calls me up when I'm traveling on business. When are you coming back? I want to play bad tennis with you. So it became like a label. And he used to, this was his pushback to me to say that we don't always have to play good tennis. We don't always have to win. We don't always have to wait for other people to applaud me. So this became our way of thinking thereafter. It had a transformative effect. And again, important thing to notice, it doesn't mean that I don't want to learn tennis. It doesn't mean I don't enjoy tennis. I'm open to learning more, becoming better, and of course, enjoying the game. So
Rather
none of
than-
that. But that pressure,
Correct. Is off.
release me of this pressure
Yeah.
of being super. That is really the message.
Fabulous. This has given me goosebumps and so many things. Even I was has changed. That perception has changed. Wow, this one statement of yours,
Yeah.
has really struck off a lot of things in my head also.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
What a
and,
way
and
of
it is, and
looking
it is
at
not
things.
just about autism or a
Yeah.
special child. No,
Definitely.
it's for all, our whole attitude,
True.
because the media show is so strong that everybody thinks, I have to win.
Have to win. Have to be good.
Not everybody has
Awesome.
to win. It's not required.
True. So, yes, thank you so much for this amazing, power packed discussion that we've had today. Believe me, it was beautiful. So, that one conclusive, powerful message from both of you. First from you.
Yes. So through the Dolly show, I would like to convey to young generation to choose B.Ed special education as a career option because there is a huge need. Yes, they will be getting lots of jobs. There is a lot of gap. And at the end of it, yes, you earn money, but you also touch human lives. It will be far more satisfying. So that's my message that, you youngsters in college should, if they are looking at this podcast and if they are seeing it anywhere, they should come to this career. They should come to this career option is excellent. There is nothing, and be passionate about it. So that's my last message. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Over to you, sir.
So my message is for the parents. My message is keep up everyday courage. Because not all courage comes roaring. Everyday courage is not the roaring sort of courage, just thumping, people applauding. No. It is that very quiet, almost whisper telling you tomorrow is another day. Try again. Let's try something new, a new technique. Be more patient. Face it. You will get results. That's the thing that should ring in your head. And that's for me is everyday courage. Because what is possible with everyday courage is very big change, great positivity, and you can cut down on that negative spiral we spoke about earlier.
Yes, yes, yes. So, your last statement is also giving me.
Absolutely. Society of Parents for Autistic Needs stands for that. Parents, a group of parents have come out of their negativity and provided what was essential. They have been very, very positively looking at what they can do to bring about a change and not brood over what's not there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My thank you is not enough.